So good afternoon. My name is Andrew Perlman. I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of Suffolk University Law School and also the privilege of serving as the Chair of the American Bar Association's Center for Innovation. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the very first episode of the ABA Center for Innovation Network. Before we get started with today's speaker, I just want to say a few words about the ABA Center for Innovation for those of you who don't know much about it, and then tell you a little bit about why we've launched the ABA Center for Innovation Network. So as for the Center for Innovation itself, we launched 2 years ago, and the idea behind our work is to innovate the delivery of legal services and information in a wide variety of ways. We have staff, and we have an incredible array of volunteer leaders, people who are not only leaders within the legal industry, but outside of it as well. And we've developed a number of strategies for improving how legal services are delivered and accessed. And one of those strategies is to ensure that everyone is aware of the various innovations that are taking place within the legal industry. And one way we're doing that is through the creation of this ABA Center for Innovation Network, where we spotlight some pioneering work that's taking place and gives the people who are on the ground, who are really changing the way the public accesses legal information and services, an opportunity to explain what they're doing so that we can all learn from it and hopefully replicate some impactful efforts that are ongoing in the nation. So that's the background for the ABA Center for Innovation and the network. If you would like to learn more about the Center for Innovation itself, you can check out our website at abacenterforinnovation.org. There's a lot of information there, and if you'd like to participate or like to become involved with the Center for Innovation, we'd really be delighted to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me at aperlman, A-P-E-R-L-M-A-N, at Suffolk, SUFFOLK.edu. So without further ado, I am delighted to be able to introduce to you our first speaker in the Center for Innovation Network series, the Honorable Scott Schlegel. So Judge Schlegel was elected to the bench of the 24th Judicial District for Jefferson Parish in Louisiana in May of 2013, and not long after that was appointed to the Management Committee as chairperson of Technology and Security. As a district court judge, Judge Schlegel has responsibility and handles a wide variety of cases, both criminal and civil. And most relevant to today's discussion, Judge Schlegel also serves as a volunteer judge for the Swift and Certain Probation Program and Reentry Court. Suffice it to say that Judge Schlegel has worked tirelessly to improve our justice system, and he's received numerous awards and honors for his pioneering work that is truly making a difference in how the public gains access to legal services and really impacting the lives of so many people. Now, before I turn it over to him, just a couple of logistical details. The judge is going to talk for what we think is maybe 30 minutes. We're going to stop at various points for questions. But if you want to ask a question, please click on the button which should be at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. Type your question in there, and we'll try to address as many questions as we can. And also for a better viewing experience, you might want to try clicking the gallery view in the upper right corner of the video window. Some people find that to be a preferable way to watch. So, like I said, turning it over to Judge Schlegel, welcome to you. Thanks so much for participating. Excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Dean Perlman, for having me. Before I begin, there are many folks that obviously have been pioneers in this area, so I want to quickly recognize a couple of judges. First, I want to recognize Judge Lori White and Judge Arthur Hunter. Judge Lori White and Arthur Hunter are the founders of the Reentry Court program here in Louisiana. They were actually recognized by the ABA in 2015 as legal rebels. I also wanted to recognize Judge Rusty Knight, who has been a real mentor to me throughout this reentry court process. He runs a reentry court in St. Tammany Parish. I also want to recognize Judge Ann Aiken. She is a federal district court in Oregon and has been thinking about these technological issues and how to utilize various technologies in the criminal justice for a very long time. So without these judges before me, I wouldn't even be sitting here having this conversation with you all. So I just wanted to quickly recognize them. I also wanted to quickly recognize and thank the bench, the 24 Judicial District Court judges who have adopted a Smart on Crime initiative that encompasses everything that we are doing here today. So with that said, I think it's important for us to kind of set the groundwork and discuss the reasons why all of these various issues are necessary. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, there were about 4.6 million individuals under community supervision in 2015. Unfortunately, according to that same study, 67.8% of released prisoners in 2005 from 30 states were arrested within 3 years. 76.6% were arrested within 5 years. And just last week or a couple of weeks ago, they came out with the 9-year study on those 30 states. 83% were arrested within 9 years. So that kind of gives you a context. In Louisiana, we have about 70,000 individuals on probation and parole. And according to the Pew Charitable Trust, 59% of all new admissions to the Department of Corrections has been based upon revocations from probation and parole. Those numbers are staggering. So regardless of what you believe in sentencing, 95% of everybody sentenced to prison will return to our communities. And the question is, better or worse? And if we do not do anything about it, and if we do not reimagine the criminal justice system, then we're going to have these same results that are unacceptable, in my opinion. So what have we been doing here in Jefferson Parish? In May of 2013, as Dean Perlman just mentioned, I was elected to the 24th JDC. And soon thereafter, we started rethinking the criminal justice system. In Jefferson Parish, we adopted the reentry court program, which I will discuss in a little bit greater detail in a few moments. And we also recently, within the past few years, adopted the swift and certain probation program, which is based upon the HOPE model, Judge Steve Alm out of Hawaii. Based upon these smart supervision programs, we have started to really build a smart supervision team. How do we do this better? How do we reduce recidivism rates to a level that's far below those recidivism rates that we just discussed? And how do we do that? So first, we have to start by developing relationships with all of the parties involved. We have a great working relationship with all of our criminal justice partners. We've partnered with our local district attorney. We've partnered with our local public defender's office. We've partnered with our local law enforcement officers. And we've partnered with our local Department of Public Safety and Corrections officers as well. So within the smart supervision ecosystem, we are able to really become an efficient team so that we can address the needs of the individual before it's too late. Currently, we have approximately 50 to 60 folks in our swift and certain probation program, and we have about 50 or so in our reentry court program. We have one judge, one public defender, one district attorney, assistant district attorney, 2 probation officers, a licensed professional counselor, and a licensed addictions counselor that works as one team. And we utilize technologies to enable us to, again, address the needs of the individual, get them or attempt to help them to become healthy so that there are no more victims. So let's talk about the reentry court program specifically, and then I'll kind of discuss how we've been able to layer various technologies to assist us in our efforts, hence the smart supervision model. Reentry court is a program designed for nonviolent, non-sex offenders with sentences of 10 years or less. Predominantly, these individuals have multiple felony convictions in their past, and instead of giving them their 15, 20-year sentences that they would typically get, instead we send them to Angola prison where they live with lifers. Now, these are lifers who have been convicted of murder, and they are lifers in the state of Louisiana. Life means life. And they have changed their hearts and have said, look, I'll go home tomorrow if you allow me, but this is my way of giving back to the community that I once terrorized. And this is their words. And they pour back into these individuals, and they tell them, look, you don't want to go down that road. You've got to rethink how you're thinking. I used to think that way, and it's wrong thinking. So for about 2 to 2.5 years, they spend their time in Angola doing moral rehabilitation, how to become a good person, how to become a good father or a good son or a good brother. They also learn a trade. So they become certified in ASC certified mechanic or a welder or a horticulturist so that they can actually earn a livable wage when they return. And after they've completed their program in 2 to 2.5 years, they petition the court to re-enter society. And it's our job, and has been our job, to develop a community to meet them at the gate, again, so that they can have an opportunity to succeed. Now, how do we do this? Obviously, this takes a tremendous amount of effort, and it takes a lot of time and manpower. So we have to talk to employers. We have to talk to local substance abuse providers. We have to talk to all these various community partners so that we can all come together and meet them at the gate. So what we've done, as you can imagine, there are multiple agencies that have to act as one unit in order to help this. So we have done and taken various technologies, and again, just everything that already exists in the private sector, we are simply looking at those models and utilizing those technologies to repurpose those technologies for our criminal justice workflow. We're also helping reduce any and all barriers for those who are re-entering our communities so that there are no more excuses and there are no more victims. How do we help you become healthy and successful so that you can live a wonderful, successful life and take care of your children and enjoy life? So we are utilizing various technologies. So the first thing that we do or have done is we built a website. It's very simple. It's www.reentrycourt.com. Again, that's reentrycourt.com or smartsupervision.us. It goes to the same place. And so when you enter and these individuals return to our community and the swift and certain population as well, we place a app on their phone. Now, this isn't an app, as it's not a native app. What we've simply done is built a website and built a page that is not linked to the main site, but it's still a public web page. And we simply save that public web page to their home phones. And on their phones, and every individual within our smart supervision population needs a smartphone. And on that simple web page, they have every single phone number that they could possibly need. They have the phone number of our licensed professional counselor that is over the reentry court. They have the phone number of the licensed addictions counselor who's over our swift and certain probation population. They have the contact information for the probation officers, and they have the contact information from the local community resources that we utilize. Our local health and human services phone number is on there, and we actually have a point of contact for our smart supervision population. They also have the phone number for another Jefferson Parish resource so that if and when they need, let's assume that they have transportation issues, as many of them have, they can call this individual to possibly get bus tokens or to figure out how to write a resume or how to post a job. They also have, and we've also placed the calendar online for them. So in the event that they forget the court date or they forget something, they can simply go on to the calendar and take a look. Service map. Where do these individuals find the services available within our community? We actually have a link online where they can simply plug in their zip code and see what service providers are available to them within their general area. As we all know, all problems don't occur between working hours. So we've actually partnered with a local organization where there's an actual chat with us button. So at 1 a.m., if these individuals are struggling and they have a triggering event and they need to speak with somebody, they can actually chat with somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and chat with a live person. And we have actually coordinated that so that that can be passed on, that information can be passed on to the licensed addictions counselor so that we can have that continuum of care. That is a very basic web page that is serving these individuals very, very well. Again, we talked about meeting them at the gate. Jobs are extremely important. If we don't have a job for these individuals and they can't earn a livable wage, obviously that is a driver of our higher recidivism rates. So we have we have a job board. And so 6 months pre-release, we have been posting these individuals' resumes and everything that they've accomplished at Angola Prison. And employers willing to hire or interview these individuals can actually go online, and we provide them with a password, and they can actually look at the individual and determine if they want to interview. And we'll actually set up an interview with them at Angola through video conferencing, as we're doing here now. We're also developing and working with a number of companies to actually have a job board, and so that employers, and we're calling it the Second Chance Employers Initiative, employers willing to interview and or hire folks within our smart supervision model would be given a password, and they would post jobs on this web page, and the employees or the potential employees, the participants in our smart supervision model, will be able to post their resumes, post a little video about themselves, and hopefully they can pair up with one another so that they can actually get a job and get that done efficiently. It's very difficult, as you can imagine, if they constantly call the case manager, and the case manager has to essentially be the person to find their jobs. Another page on our website is a legal aid page. So we've partnered with the local Louisiana State Bar Association and have a number of attorneys willing to assist our smart supervision population in the reentry court because of all the collateral consequence issues that they face when they return. So even pre-release, if you're a lawyer and you're interested in helping, you can actually go online to the webpage. You can actually select an issue, and its privacy is taken very seriously. So there's no names on there. It's simply a case number. And if you're interested in addressing a traffic attachment or your child support issue or a birth certificate or a driver's license or any other issues that are some of these collateral consequence issues, you simply click on the button, and one of the assisting attorneys will actually help these individuals kind of address a number of those collateral consequence issues. Also on this website, as part of the smart supervision population or participants, you cannot use illegal narcotics, you cannot drink alcohol, and we have to ensure compliance. So we require that they take random drug tests. And before they take that random drug test, we're actually using an electronic survey, very simple 10-question survey, where we simply ask them, state your name, have you or have you not used any illegal substances, and if so, when? And this gets rid of the he said, she said, and it makes a record of the individual's responses. And that record is shared with the public defender and with the prosecutor and with the court and with the probation officer so that everybody's on the same page and so that everybody can act, again, as one unit. Obviously, each individual, the court, the DA, the public defender, everyone has their jobs. But everybody's provided with that information so that we can, again, get folks healthy so that there are no more victims. So I like to kind of use the example of, again, forget about sentencing, regardless of what you believe in sentencing. That's not the point of this conversation. So I always like to say, consider the medical field. If you're sick, you would pick up the phone and call the doctor's office. And when you scheduled your appointment, after you've hung up that phone, you likely receive a notification by text and or email reminding you of that appointment. If you push a button, it dumps that on your online calendar. And as the date of your appointment nears, you're receiving reminders and notifications to get to that appointment. Why don't we have that in the criminal justice system? And so you get to your doctor's office, and when you arrive, they would say, welcome, Dean Perlman. I see that you have an appointment with Dr. Smith. Come on back. And when you got back there, there's actually a notification or a record of what's going on with you. And if they have to send you to a pharmacy to get some drugs, or they need to send you to your next appointment, all that information is pushed electronically, and it's a seamless process. And the point of all of that seamless process is so that you can get healthy, and so that we can reduce all of those health issues. So we're looking at the healthcare model so that we can figure out how to get people healthy, because 59% of all new admissions to the Department of Corrections is based upon revocations, probation, and parole is unacceptable. We have to utilize all these various technologies to get everybody where they need to go so that there are no more victims. Wearables. I'm quite sure everybody listening here has or has seen a wearable. These devices are extremely important because of the ability to change behavior. It'll tell you to, if you've been sitting too long, stand up. If you need to get to an appointment, it'll notify you get to appointment. If you receive an email or a text, it'll notify you so that you can respond to that input that you have. So we are looking at how to fit wearables within this system. Typically, after you've been assessed by one of our counselors, they'll have special conditions. It might be you need substance abuse treatment. You might need to go to an MRT class. You might need to go to your AA meetings. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to determine whether or not that person went there or not until it's too late, until they've used again, until there's a new crime or a new victim. So with the wearables, we're trying to find a way to build in near field communication, NFC, so that they can check in and check out, and the whole team would be notified of that action or inaction. So again, we can respond in real time to the needs of that individual. We're also looking and have been working closely on calendaring and class appointments and implementing all these things into one ecosystem with our proper permissions. The difficulty from taking something off of the shelf has been our permissions and our criminal justice workflow have not been considered for all these different collaboration tools, so that when you speak to the judge, it should always be team to judge, judge to team. There cannot be any ex parte communications. If a probationer needs to speak with his or her attorney, there should be no one seeing that communication, because that is confidential. If there's a third party medical provider needing to coordinate with that probationer, they need to be able to do that and make that HIPAA compliant. So building everything within this one ecosystem has been a challenge for those reasons, but we've been working with several companies and hopefully are nearing completion of that design. Again, not trying to build a new case management system. There are plenty of case management systems out there, but we are looking to try and build a communications platform so that we can, again, address the needs of the individual. We talked earlier about transportation being very difficult. If somebody has a mental health issue and they're not on the right bus line, or they don't have a ride to that mental health appointment that they need to meet with a counselor, why don't we have a telehealth platform so that these individuals can, from their home, when needed, obviously face-to-face is the best approach, but when you cannot, we still need these individuals to have the opportunity to work through the issues that they're dealing with. So why don't we have a telehealth platform built within our communications platform ecosystem? Document and video storage. If somebody I know is dealing with a substance abuse problem, and that substance abuse problem is because they are dealing with some serious shame issues or some serious child sexual abuse or physical abuse issues, I am interested in developing a platform that enables them to go in to see what videos and or articles are simply in the library that have been pre-approved and selected by our licensed professional counselors so that they can do the work necessary to get healthy. And we award folks points for everything they do well so that they can earn their way off of probation. So I intend to encourage probationers and those within our Smart Supervision platform to reach into this library and watch that video on shame and go talk to the counselor the next week about that video and talk about what you've learned. And I'll give you an extra point or two so that we can encourage your behavior and encourage you to get healthy. That is a kind of overview of what we've been working on. We also have a GPS tracking ability on an app that we have placed on the individual's phones. That app has the ability to do 24/7 GPS tracking, but we do not do 24/7 GPS tracking unless it's necessary. And everybody who enters into our program is consulted with the attorney and actually complete a use of technology agreement that lets them know, and I let them know, hey, look, we're going to put this on your phone. We don't intend to do it 24/7, but if we need to, we can. And that has been very helpful. We're considering utilizing ride-sharing partnerships. Again, if you can't get to your job, or you can't get to your drug screen, or you can't make that appointment because your car broke down, or you don't have a car, or your ride failed you, why not have the ability to possibly do a ride share either to that appointment or to that job in the case of emergency, or to the closest bus line to help you? That's the smart supervision utilization of all the various technologies. Dean Perlman, I could drone on and would welcome any questions or any clarifying points. We also, from just a general criminal docket standpoint, I've added calendaring. So when you leave my courtroom, you actually sign up your email or phone number, and I tell you to come to court the next week, and it actually sends you reminders so we can cut down on the failures to appear so that, again, just address it.
Judge Schlegel, amazing. You fit in about 30 minutes more innovations than I could have possibly have imagined. That really just riveting work that you're doing, and not droning on at all. I could have listened to you go on for quite a bit more time with the number of interesting ideas that you've had and that you've implemented. I do have a couple of questions for you. Success rates. I know you're relatively early in this process. You started off this discussion referencing the recidivism rates, which are just sky high. What data is out there, or do you hope to gather either from your own work or a few other judges who are already doing this about the impact that an innovation like this or a series of innovations like this could have?
Great question, and we're not doing this just because we're bored. The recidivism rates, recidivism rates are very difficult to use as the one and only guideline. We are studying it. From day one, we brought on Loyola University, their criminal law section, to study this from day one. So they've actually been doing the study. Look, we only have in Jefferson Parish 9 guys back from the reentry program because we only started 4 years ago. It takes 2.5 years to get them out. So as you can see, they're trickling out now. So far, out of the 9, no one has been revoked. We've had to sanction a few folks for substance abuse, but no one's been revoked. And look, if one gets revoked, the recidivism rate is awful. 1 of 9, you do the math.
Perfection be the enemy of the good. Another question, one of the fascinating innovations that you described is helping people get employed and using a job board and the technology associated with that. Because if you can get people employed, I would imagine that's a significant contributor, as you suggested, to cutting down on recidivism. Can you say how much progress you've made with potential employers? Have people been enthusiastic about this? And do you think you'd get enough employers who are willing to participate to serve the population that you expect that needs it?
The business community has been wonderful. Everybody who hears about the program this morning, at 7:30 this morning, I was talking to another group of employers and telling them about our Second Chance Employer Initiative. So yes, there has been great support. Yes, it's still extremely difficult to place them with jobs. At the end of the day, the individuals have multiple felony convictions, and it's still tough, even all the relationships we've built. But everybody is very supportive of our program. Everybody is definitely willing to consider hiring, and they have. All of the guys that have come home have either gotten a job before they came out, or as they are on the streets looking for a job, they're getting employed. But it's still, I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy going. It's still extremely difficult. And that's why we're trying to use these technologies. Instead of doing that one-to-one pairing, we're trying to say, are you interested in helping us? And let's put it on the website. Let's put it on a board so that they can do the matching themselves and not feel pressured one way or the other. Just give somebody an opportunity is all we're asking.
I got a question from the audience. Somebody was asking about the ways in which you get feedback from the participants in the program. Is that something that's also you're using technology for? Are there interviews? How do you get input into how the program is working?
So Loyola, as part of their study, is interviewing the individuals within our smart supervision population. And yes, they're getting that, how do they feel about X, Y, and Z? I can tell you that they are extremely, within the swift and certain population, the reentry court population is still too new and too small to have that effect. But I can tell you anecdotally, I had 2 or 3 of the guys thanking the court every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. They're in court. So just saying how much they appreciate everybody in the courtroom trying to help them succeed, even when they do fail.
So speaking of anecdotes, before we went live, you were sharing one with me, which was really intriguing, giving us kind of a grounded sense about how all this works in practice. Would you mind sharing that story with everyone?
Sure. Just last Friday, we had a failure. We had an employer notify us that not me, notified the case manager, our licensed professional counselor, that the employee, the smart supervision participant, hadn't shown up to work in a couple of days. So because of our smart supervision team approach, that was sent by encrypted message to the entire team. That included the probation officers, their supervisors, the public defender, the assistant district attorney, the court, the minute clerk, the local law enforcement, everybody. The probation officer just so happened to be off that day. And as you can imagine, if that would have happened in the normal situation, it'd have been a while. So the supervisor was able to send 2 other officers to do a home check. Unfortunately, the individual was not there. The probation officer who was off came onto the field and started looking for this individual. And we were able to turn the 24/7 GPS tracking on that we discussed. And after a few hours back and forth, by 10:30 that evening, the individual had been located and apprehended, brought to the jail, and by Monday, 11 a.m., he was in front of me, and we addressed the new drug use and the violations of curfew, and we'll address whatever else we have to. But that enabled our team to address the issue and the need of that individual immediately, and before it was too late, before there was anything greater than what had already been done. And so it was a big failure, but it was also showed how we are able to utilize these technologies and this smart team approach to really get something done quicker than is normally imaginable within the criminal justice system with this many agencies operating. And none of it's ex parte. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what's happening.
Remarkable. So, a number of people who might be listening in are not familiar with how this might work in the old-fashioned 20th century way. Can you compare and contrast what you're doing with the way that this has worked in the past, and why you're so enthusiastic about this change and why you think it's so promising?
Sure. The old day, the judge doesn't find out about a violation until there's about 5 or 6 or 7 violations, and then there's a new victim, and then all you do is revoke the probation because there's a new victim, a new crime, and you weren't able to intercede. Again, accountability first. No more victims. That's number 1. And so by doing it this new way, hopefully we'll be able to address the substance abuse problems that this individual is going through, and hopefully we'll be able to intercede before the revocation, before there's a new victim, before there's a new 20-year sentence, before there's a new, and so on. And the old day, that had just been out there, and we'd find something much, much later.
Yeah. And so that old day is still the current day in a wide range of courts. And so one question that somebody just asked, what's the cost to do something like this? So if you're a court administrator or a judge, either in another parish or another state, how do you get something like this off the ground? What's the first step? And what's the cost of doing something like this?
So cheaper than prison, cheaper than prison. So what we've been able to accomplish, so in Louisiana, the day rate's about $25 a day, and that's without programming or without anything interstitial. The probation and parole day rate's about $250 a day. So we're looking for a target rate, and I don't have the exact answers yet. We're still working through it. We're looking for maybe an $8 to $10 day rate. Everything that I just discussed is going to costs us without the GPS tracking. I'll have to separate that out because that's costly. But everything else without the GPS is less than $750 a year. It's about $750 a year for everything that I just said. The GPS tracking, depending upon which company someone were to choose, is much more costly. But that is, again, necessary only in high risk, high situations. The vast majority of everything I talked about, the video conferencing, the encrypted messaging, the online calendar, the ability to do video conferencing, all of that is building my website, about $750 to $1,000 a year. We actually wrote an article at Harvard Access to Justice and the ABA. There's two articles, You Be the Judge 1 and 2, that you all actually published that kind of discuss these in a little greater detail.
Thanks. So somebody raised a concern about GPS tracking, and even though there is consent, it strikes this person as potentially Orwellian, that it's too intrusive, and that there may be special interest groups that advocate against that. Have you seen that? Do you understand or appreciate any of these concerns, and what would your response be to somebody who raised it with you?
I absolutely understand and appreciate those concerns, which is why we do a full consent and go through it. And I'd also point out that this is a high-risk population, and without these programs, these individuals would be incarcerated. So these are, we're not talking about your typical low-risk population. We're talking about, with these programs did not exist, these individuals would be incarcerated. And so this is a very high-risk population. We do it up front. We have attorneys and due process, and everybody is present. And so we have these discussions.
So, another way to think about it is prison is a lot more Orwellian than a GPS tracker on your phone, I guess is another way to say it. But,
and look, we put it on the smartphone too, because we're not trying to embarrass anybody. We're not trying to have those types of issues.
Yeah, great. What is the biggest challenge that you faced in creating something like this? You seem pretty technologically savvy. Would a judge have to be? Did you have to learn a lot in order to be able to implement a solution like this? Or what did you face as a judge trying to implement something of this sort?
So I'd say the biggest challenge is just relationship building. The technology, I love technology like everybody listening to this, but it's the relationships that matter. It's the partnerships with the agencies that matter. Without the partnerships, it doesn't matter what the technology is. None of this, it's useless information. As far as the other information, it just takes time. You don't have to, there's so many products out there that really are plug and play. If you can't do it, you can find somebody to do it within your court system. But if you take the time to play with it, you can put something together pretty quickly for not much money. But yes, it's a challenge.
Yeah, no doubt. So if somebody were to want to do that, what would be the first step? What resource could they look to? It seems so overwhelming for somebody who doesn't have anything like this in their court or is thinking about it. It seems pretty overwhelming what you've described. What would be a very good concrete first step if somebody wanted to do something like this in their jurisdiction?
So one, as a judge, I can't refer to a product, so I'm not going to be able to encourage the use of one product over the other. Once you've built that the agency cooperation, after you've gotten all of your information, because that's where the work is, then you can go on and build a website. There's plenty of website builders out there that you could go out and just find the one that works for you and your budget, and figure out how to take that information and put that information on the website. Again, it's most products out there are really plug and play now with a lot of integrations. All the different products are already integrated. Again, I'm taking everything from the private sector and simply bringing it in over here, and there's been a lot of effort to integrate many of these platforms out there. So call me. I'm happy to talk it out with you.
Great resource. Any other questions out there, please feel free to click in. Any other thoughts, unless anybody else has any other questions, I'll just kind of throw it back to you, Judge, for any closing thoughts that you might have about what might be next, where you'd want to go from here. What's the future in this area? So
access to justice is not just a criminal justice issue, it's a civil issue as well. So we implement all these technologies, or I have, within the civil legal system as well. So I've placed my calendar online. So if you're a lawyer and you want to find out when the court's available, you simply go onto the website, you simply pick a date. My pre-trials are at 9, my motions are at 10, and you can see what's available. Get with the opposing counsel, pick a date that's convenient to you two, put it on the rule to show cause, and send your motion in. And you can actually schedule your hearings that way. You'll receive an email notification immediately. You dump that on your calendar, and it actually has a video conference platform built within it. So if you want to come by pretrial, this is my pretrial room. You simply click in. I have lawyers up here by video all the time. If you want to come by video, come on. That'll save you time, money, and effort, your clients time, money, and effort, and you can actually discuss with one another, because you'll receive a reminder and you'll go, I need to talk to opposing counsel. So you'll call opposing counsel and be resourceful. We also have it on out there. If there's an out-of-state witness and there's an inability to do it, bring the witness by video. We have it integrated within our system. So it really is the ability to utilize these technologies, these inexpensive technologies, to make the courts more accessible to more people, make it more efficient, and do it better. We're not talking about changing the law. We're talking about changing how the system works and making it more accessible both in the criminal and civil realms, and really trying to mold and shape the practice of law and make it a better practice of law.
That is a great note to end on, and you've given a wonderful illustration of just process improvement and the impact that it can have, and what judging of the future can and should look like. You are truly a pioneer and have gotten this series off to a wonderful start. So Judge Schlegel, thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to thank the Center for Innovation's Deputy Director, Chase Hurdle, who's been helping. I think maybe you can see his photograph up on the screen. So thank you, Chase, for the great work and being behind the scenes and making sure the technology, hey, there he is. Thanks, Chase. And, you know, we were worried of making sure that when we're talking about technology and the delivery of all sorts of court services, we wanted this to come off well, and I think we succeeded. So thank you for that, Chase. And thank you again, Judge Schlegel. We really appreciate you being with us. And for those of you listening in, we hope you'll join us for our next episode, which will be in 2 months. We hope to do this every other month so that we can spotlight all of the wonderful innovations that are out there. If you're interested in presenting or have a nomination for somebody you'd like to be a part of the series, please let us know. And on a final note, somebody asked if you're on Twitter, Judge Schlegel, so that they can follow you. And if they hear about any updates, you want to give us your handle if you have one?
Yeah. Those judicial ethics, not going to happen. Not going to be on Twitter.
All right, so no luck there. You'll just have to reach out to Judge Schlegel directly. Yeah. Thanks again, Judge. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, bye-bye.